Welcome back to American Agenda. Today is Labor Day, but here we are working like so many Americans. Summer may be kind of over, an election is looming, and many Americans are now asking themselves, am I better off now than I was 4 years ago? For the most part, of course, the answer is worse than ever.
I mean, not good.
Every bill, every utility bill, taxes, you name it.
Car payments.
Car payments. It's just everything has gone up and up, and
Rents.
people can't even buy a home anymore. You have to make, I think, $120,000 a year just to afford a home, and the average American salary is only $84,000. So nobody can buy a home anymore.
No, they can't. I did a report about this a couple weeks ago, Lydia. The growth you had over the last 3.5 years under Biden, your paycheck doesn't keep up. Because that's how high inflation is. It's canceled that all out. Because of inflation, spending is up, but it's spending that Americans, they cannot afford it. So credit card, guess what? That's up too, racking up debt. In a recent interview, Walmart CFO John Rainey, he's pointing out even Americans making more, to your point, Lydia, $100,000 a year are turning to discount chains like Walmart because it's tough times even for the middle class.
That's why when I see these actors like George Clooney and Mark Ruffalo, and then you've got Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey praising the Democrats, easy for you to say. You guys are multimillionaires, billionaires, you name it. Us regular folks, there's no shame in my game. I will go to Target. I love me some
I've been
Target.
going to Walmart for years.
And I love Walmart, but I don't have a Walmart near me. All right, joining us now to break it all down, President of Strellmark Business Development Consultants, Hillary Fordwich. Hillary, thanks so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, pleasure.
Talk to me about the record debt that Americans are suffering from. And so many more millions of Americans are now borrowing against their 401k just to make ends meet. We've never heard this kind of situation before. And of course, it's all a result of the Biden-Harris economy.
Well, you're absolutely correct, Lydia. Pleasure to be back with you and Bob. Couple of things. Yes, the debt, actually, 2/3 of Americans still have credit card debt back from 2023. And when you previously, in the opening there, you were talking about, the cost of living, you both mentioned car payments, but what about car insurance as well? It's one thing if you can't even make your car payment. Car insurance is up 50%. And then when you were talking about the average cost of a home, I was actually almost laughing to myself, 120,000. You're correct nationally. I live just outside of Washington, D.C. You're not able to buy a shed for that in Washington, D.C.
No.
100,000 in D.C. You kidding me? No,
you can't even buy a studio in the Bronx for
100,000. No,
nothing. But you have to make. They said nationwide. You have to. That's supposed to be your salary.
Oh,
but
it's a national average. You're right. I'm just thinking where, because it's not anywhere.
No.
Areas.
It's going up in the rural parts of the country as well. They're being hit just as well. We know, Hillary, you also worked in real estate, so we wanted to get your thoughts on this. I thought this is very interesting here. Most Americans, obviously, we just talked about it, can't afford the house, can't afford the mortgage, but commercial real estate, that market has collapsed or is collapsing as well. You see all these giant skyscrapers all over New York, all over the cities. Well, what's going on? Nobody's in them. A lot of people work from home now. Companies, they can't afford the leases. Talk about this.
Yes, absolutely. I actually have many clients in the commercial real estate industry, and what I've heard across the board is the same thing. Occupancy is at the lowest rate it's ever been in American history. And most now companies obviously don't think it'll ever return to pre-pandemic levels. You've got another generation who's quite happy to work remotely. And also we've never had the technology that we do today. So this is what's happening across American cities. One, the positive issue is there's a movement towards commercial residentializing, if that's sort of a term now, these buildings to turning them into residence. However, they're not even always able to do that due to zoning, due to regulations, and due to the buildings just aren't even purpose fit for that. So it's not always possible. But what you're going to see is not only a wave of bankruptcies, a lot of banks, they uphold these loans for commercial real estate. And with interest rates as high as they are, they're not able to, these commercial real estate entities and people that own those buildings aren't able to make payments. You're going to see a lot of pressure in the banking industry, collapses in the banking industry, and in new American cities where you have these buildings, there isn't the ripple effect, Bob, not in terms of obviously the vendors, the food, the restaurants. Restaurant owners are being affected drastically because business people aren't back in
foot traffic.
Yes.
Hillary, we have less than a minute left. I know this is a kind of complicated question, but the war on the fossil fuel industry that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris waged on day one of their administration, how much of an impact did that have on our failing economy?
Well, to make it very, very simple, the Biden administration has released more barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and that's called Strategic to Protect Us, since 1983. What's very simple is that Donald Trump has said, drill, baby, drill. We're literally, as Americans, we're literally standing on liquid gold. We could be the world's #1 producer of oil. Forget, OPEC, forget the Arab nations. And even more sad is that we have been importing from countries like Venezuela. So anybody who says, oh, they're for the green agenda, that's why we're not drilling and why we closed down the pipeline. Very simple issue here. We have been importing dirty oil. That has been bad for the environment.
Yeah, who do you think has better quality control, the United States or Venezuela?
I think the United States.
All right.
I also think they gave Venezuela those oil deals thinking they were going to get a fair election down there, and that blew up right in their face.
That's exactly right. Yes.
There was a deal made there.
Hillary Fordwich, always a pleasure. Stop back soon.
Pleasure. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Lydia.